Good morning and welcome to the EZFX Trading Room broadcast for Monday, October 31st, 2016. My name is Bradley Freed, and for the next 20 to 30 minutes, you'll be joining me for a review of our watch list from last week. We're going to go through everything we were looking at last week. We're going to look for any new trades that have popped up and also talk about any changes, any operational steps we need to take in managing open trades, and also any trading results that have happened since we last talked. If you have any questions and you're watching live, we have a chat room on this page. You can go there and you can post your questions. I will answer all questions live at the end of the broadcast. If you're watching the recording, then please feel free to contact me either via the community. If you're a member on EZFX, just go to the community menu. You can post a private message on the members page. If you find me, I'm EZFX. You can also post to the trading room group. If you go to the groups item on the community menu, there's a trading room group. Just go ahead and post there. You can post charts, you can post trade ideas, you can post anything that you want. And I and also other members of the EZFX community will be happy to answer your questions and comment on your post. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and run through the watch list as it was last Thursday. We were watching the CAD yen buy on the 4-hour chart, a New Zealand sell, and a euro pound sell on the 4-hour chart. On our new and open trades, the pound dollar buy is new, or was new. Other new trades were the Aussie CAD sell, Aussie CAD sell, Newsy CAD sell, Aussie CAD sell, pound Newsy buy, pound Aussie buy, pound yen buy, and euro Aussie buy. Actually, pound yen buy. Those were all new trades, meaning they were set up and we were waiting for one more thing to happen before we'd get into them. So we'll see what happened with that. Finally, the open trades were the euro Aussie buy, dollar peso buy, euro Swiss buy, euro dollar buy, euro Newsy buy, dollar CAD buy, and dollar kroner buy. So let's go ahead and jump over to the charts. I want to run through these. We'll start with the open trades and then we'll go to the watching portion of the list. Okay. So to start off with, let's look at the pound dollar buy. That was something that was new. And this is still, we're still kind of waiting for this to set up. Remember, I drew a second trend line here. We were waiting for a triangular moving average color change on the 4-hour chart to happen. That has not happened. It's still consolidating, right? We haven't had a new low made since this wick here created this divergence level here. And we're still waiting for a close above this trend line. We can go ahead and redraw this trend line even more conservatively to encompass this wick that punched through later in the week. And by doing that, we're just ensuring that when a candle does close above that, that it's significant and that we've detected a potential buy opportunity. What also has to happen here, though, is we have Class B divergence, we have a buy bubble, we have an initial trend line break here that started moving sideways, which is why I moved this. I drew this second trend line. We need a triangular moving average color change, and we need a candle close above this latest trend line. If all those things happen, I'd be interested in buying this pair. As I said before, I have a bias to the downside for these pound pairs. I think they've got a lot further to go, especially at the point in time in the near future, probably next year, when the Prime Minister and the Parliament trigger Article 50 to exit the EU. I think you're going to see this pair just crater. And so I'd rather be trading in anticipation of those sell opportunities than fighting a fruitless battle for recovery of this pair at this point in time. But anyway, this is a valid potential setup, so we're going to keep it as a new trade because you never know. We could have something that happens that causes this pair to retrace up and give us some money. And as long as we have all the confirmation we need on the 4-hour chart, I have no problem going ahead and taking that trade if everything aligns correctly. All right, next let's look at the Newsy CAD sell. And Newsy CAD sell and Aussie CAD sell, these are very similar. Let's go ahead and look at these together. All right, so this pair was setting up and then it made a higher high. And as it made a higher high, it also made a new Class B supply zone. There are no sell bubbles anywhere. So that was our first clue that this is probably a weak setup. It has kind of started to go flatter. It's still making higher highs, though. This is still trending by our technical definition of trending, meaning it's making higher highs and higher lows. So I would hold off on trading this. In fact, because it went ahead and pushed through this high and didn't actually set up the sell trade, I'm going to say that we're going to move this Newsy CAD back to the watching portion of the list and wait for new confirmation of a new setup. Aussie CAD, a little bit of a different picture. This pair did actually drop and gave us an open here. We had a sell bubble. We have a trend line break. We have a color change in the triangular moving average. And we have we've had everything we need to take a trade. Now what it did is it dropped here, gave us a signal, and then it retraced a little bit and dropped again. At this point in time, though, this is still a valid trade. The required stop, if you put it right above this recent high, is 115. And we were looking at an initial target down here at the 50% Fibonacci retracement level at 50%. So this trade is actually currently open. All right. Next, we'll look at the pound Newsy and the pound Aussie and the pound yen. Those are some of our other pound trades. Pound Newsy, we've had a break here, right? We're on the 4-hour chart, triangle moving average color change, a sideways break of the trend line. Now, what I don't like about this is it's not really a breakout, right? It's not showing us that there's been momentum starting to build towards a move in the buy direction. What I would do, because this is still consolidating, we have a few tools to do this, but you can go ahead and use in this case, we can either redraw the trend line, which is one option, or we can draw a triangle and just connect the points on this recent zone of consolidation here in anticipation of a breakout candle that closes above this triangle in a fairly significant and obvious way. And if that happens, I'd probably be interested in buying this pair. Keep in mind, though, that we have big stops on this. Even right now, that's a 98 pip stop if we were using this as a stop level, this recent low here. So it will quickly get to 150 pips or beyond. But I'm not, again, I'm biased against long pairs in these pound trades. So I want to take extra care before I make any trading decisions to get into them. So this to me is still a new trade, and we'll just keep watching it on the 4-hour chart. All right, pound Aussie buy, that's our next one. Again, we have a sideways break of the trend line. We've had a color change in the triangular moving average. We have Class B divergence. We have no buy bubble on the 4-hour chart. I would also be cautious here because this is not real. It has no momentum behind it at all after breaking out. There's really very little energy there. In this case, what I would do is just draw a trend line over these recent wicks, just like that. And we could even consider maybe watching this in the 1-hour chart, but it's so confused on the 1-hour chart. Just look how much volatility we have. It's really not even a coherent picture that allows us to make a trading decision. So let's stay on the 4-hour chart with this. And I'd have to see a close above this trend line. You know, a candle close with the body closed above that line in a fairly significant way before I'd consider buying it. Already at this point, if you were to buy this pair now, 215 pip stop, so it's fairly large, and that would be a problem. But you could consider moving your stop up, for example, not to the most recent low, but maybe this low here, or another point that gives you a good enough stop loss, but kind of cuts down the size a little bit, allowing you to get into the trade. with at least a minimum trade size. So this is still new, but I still want to see more confirmation. I just really, really, really want to be careful about these pairs because there's so many fundamentals stacked against them. I just don't want to bet against them. It's just kind of a losing game. Having said that, I did get into the pound yen buy last week, and I think this is probably the best of these pairs simply because yen weakness will pull up the pair. If the dollar yen goes weak, then the pound yen will also. And I think that potentially will help these pairs, or that pair, in that instance. Okay, there's the pound yen chart. And this did break. It actually did make a higher high. It closed above this fairly conservative trend line we drew on the 4-hour chart. That's when I got into the trade. This is probably the most convincing of any of these pound pairs for the reasons I said. I put the stop at this low here. It's a recent low relative to the entry. It is not the recent low here. That would be too large. My initial profit target is the 50% retracement on this portion of the recent move down. And the final profit target at 78.6. So this is Fibonacci targets all the way through. We also have this monthly pivot that's also a high probability target. I just use the 50% fib level because it's more conservative and more attainable and still gives us a very good risk to reward ratio on this trade. So the pound yen is now open. And that is the only pound trade I'm in right now. And it probably will continue to be the case unless something really dramatic happens in the market or with these trades. Next, let's look at the Euro Aussie. Euro Aussie buy trade that's open. And this trade has moved rather well. It's gone ahead and hit the first profit target, which means our stop gets moved to break even. And we've taken a partial profit of approximately 184 pips at that level. Our next profit target will be the 78.6% retracement level here. That's retracement on, as you can see on the 4-hour chart. This move here from this supply zone down to the recent low. And we could have actually started up here, but I started here. It was just more conservative. And so I felt more comfortable with it. And we've already gotten halfway. So I think it was a valid decision. And we'll see if we can get all the way on that. So that is still open. But it was not a signal trade. Next, we're getting into some of our signal trades. Dollar peso buy. That's an open trade, or was an open trade. Let's see how it's doing. This moved quite a bit higher, and it gapped on the open and dropped a little bit. But it's still, I think, moving higher. We had nice movement on this at the end of the week. Everything that has happened that we were waiting to happen on the 4-hour chart, you can see we have a trend line break here. I think we're really watching on the 1-hour chart, though, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so we had sort of a buy bubble here. We've had another buy bubble here since. And we had a break of this more recent 1-hour chart trend line. But I got in on the break of this 4-hour chart trend line. I was being very conservative about this because we've been stopped out of a buy trade on this pair in recent weeks. It's moved higher. We've seen some Class B divergence. On the 4-hour chart, it's a little bit more clear. I kind of like managing this on the 4-hour chart because I can see the initial trend where we created the trade space. I can see the full entry, and I can see the targets fairly clearly. So I'll probably keep managing it on the 4-hour chart. This is still, though, I think it has a lot of upward potential. Remember that this is a pair that once it reverses trend, it tends to respond fairly well to this system and to the trade space idea. And I think we have a good possibility of at least reaching our initial profit target at the monthly pivot, which is right below the 50% retracement level on those fibs. So that trade is still open. Next, let's look at the Euro Swiss buy. Euro Swiss buy has retraced a bit. You know, we had a nice breakout here. I got in, then it retraced down, then it recovered, and started to get into the money again. And it has dropped since the open, kind of heading down towards the stop. Now, if this is just ranging behavior, then we should see some recovery. The triangular moving average has changed color. We do not have a sell bubble. Though if this continues to drop, we may get a buy bubble, which would kind of signify timing for a new rise in the range or maybe a break to a higher price. So this is still open, but we're currently a little bit in the red on it. Next, let's look at the euro-dollar buy. That's an open trade. This has also dropped a bit after a really nice breakout and moved to a higher high here at the end of last week. We are managing this on the 4-hour chart at present. If you look at it on the 1-hour chart, let's see how it looks. It's just a little bit less clear, but it has hit this class B supply zone and bounced off of it. But it's I would expect it has more upward potential. So I'm just keep watching on the 4-hour chart and managing it on that time frame, trying to get to our initial profit target at last week's weekly pivot at 1.1047. Next, let's look at the Euro Newsy buy. It's an open 1-hour trade. And notice I've had a concentration in the euro. Those have simply been the best, most clear signals under our system rules. And so that's why I've gotten into those trades. This started out fairly well, then was moving down. I drew a second trend line just to confirm the continuation of the trend. And it did continue, got back to this monthly pivot. And now I'm looking for it to go even higher to get to at least this 50% retracement level on the move here. This big drop that went straight down. And remember, this is one of my favorite setups. I really like that straight drop, fast drop, because that generally indicates to me there's going to be a retracement fairly soon. And that was confirmed by our other signals in our system. In here on the 4-hour chart, we can see a class A demand zone. We can see a buy bubble. Go ahead and mark that. You know, all the things we look for that keep happening over and over again when we have winning trades are happening for this pair. And it's been several weeks since we've had some things that have been working out this well. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we could be headed towards a period of winning where we'll recover from our recent drawdown and get into new levels of profit and return on our trading account. So that is still open. Dollar CAD buy, that is not a signal trade, but let's go ahead and update it. That's actually one I kind of wish I'd gotten into just because it has worked out well. And but given leverage constraints and everything else, I can't get into everything. And I've accepted that, and that's fine. As long as I share all these ideas with you and you learn the system, you know, you take the course and do the work you need to do to master these techniques, you can select from these opportunities that I present and that we share with each other and be able to take profit. This pair has basically not done anything since last week. Remember, we hit our initial profit target. We moved our stop to break even. It started showing class A, class B divergence. I said, let's go ahead and see if we can go higher. And it hasn't done that yet. The dollar hasn't moved to new levels of strength. So we're still waiting for that. The triangular moving average on the 1-hour chart is still blue, indicating a buy trend. This is class B divergence, which I generally ignore unless it appears with a supply zone, in which case it's class A. And then I would consider a reversal signal. The complete reversal signal where you'd absolutely have to get out would be a class A supply zone plus a color change in this triangular moving average from blue to red. Though neither of those things has happened yet. So this is still an open trade, and we're still going for this next supply zone at 1.35494. Finally, let's look at the dollar kroner. And this trade has been open for a long time. We're still waiting for more dollar strength on this pair. It has, you know, last week it moved to a higher level. It's been ranging and consolidating. It's been reaching up towards that initial profit target, which is the monthly pivot at 8.3229. That's last month's monthly pivot. I still think it can get there. It's just moving very slowly. We're currently managing this in the 4-hour chart, so it's easy to see the entire trade and what it's doing. But remember, this is an awful long time. This is several weeks of time. We actually got into this at the very beginning of October, and we're almost to the end of the month. So we've been in this almost 4 weeks. And it may go even longer if we're going for this final profit target up here, which I believe is at a weekly pivot, an old weekly pivot. No, it's at another monthly pivot at 8.4363. And all this is within, if we use a trade space, again, this is a big trade space, from the top of this big supply zone here down to the recent low, then we're trying to carve back up and take profit out of a portion of this retracement as we move back towards this supply zone. So this trade is still open. It's turning out to be a longer term idea. I've never traded this. I think this is probably the first time I've traded this pair. So I don't know what to expect, but it is moving slowly. And some of the same dollar reticence to move stronger. It's, you know, slowly it's moving stronger. I think it's the U.S. election is weighing heavily on this. And my theory is that a Hillary Clinton win means that the dollar is going to get very strong very fast. If Trump were to win, I think we just see things go nuts. So I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope that Hillary wins and we start to see some of our pairs, our trades pay off. Regardless of what you think about her, she's good for these Forex trends, whereas Trump would be very, very bad, at least for our trades. If you want to short the pound and Trump wins, I think you'll be shorting the dollar too, and then you can ride the whole thing all the way into the ground. All right, so that's it. Those are my updates. We don't have any new results to report. I don't want to throw any new trades up on the board right now because we have a big list here we're working through. I think these all have promise. I think they all have potential. I have moved the New Z CAD back to the watching list. Oh, we haven't talked about our watching trades yet. Let's look at those real quick. The CAD yen buy. That's one of our watching trades. And this just means these are things we're watching that haven't given us signals yet, right? So let's see. We've had a trend line break on this pair. Color change, a triangle moving average, a big drop here. And then a recovery back up. And this actually did hit an initial profit target here, where we would have moved our stop to break even if you gotten into this trade, and then it would have stopped out of break even. So this, I think, is essentially done. I will keep watching this. Well, there's really no reason to watch this pair. So let's just we can cancel the idea. And if something comes up again, we can go ahead and think about trading it. And we'll just say cancel. New Z yen sell. That's another one we're still looking at. This has not set up. It created a higher high. I think much as, well, this is actually the same setup. We're gonna look at the euro pound, I think. Or this was the same as the New Z CAD, right? It moved up, made a higher high, created a new zone, and validated the previous trade idea. So we're still kind of waiting for a sell setup on this. So I'll still keep looking out for that sell setup. That means the last one we want to look at is the euro pound sell. Let's just find that real quick. And it's another pound trade. Remember, I think this is going to go higher. It did set up a sell trade. It did open up, and then we had a reversal, a color change on the triangle moving average. It hasn't hit the kind of planned stop level we thought about yet, but it's potentially moving higher. So I'm just going to keep watching this cautiously. I'd be looking actually for a buy opportunity. If it moved even higher, I'd be interested in doing that. But for now, it's still on our watching list. And we already discussed the New Z CAD earlier. So that's it. Those are the updates for today. If you have any questions, please ask me via the channels that I mentioned earlier. Send me a private message or post to the trading room group from the community menu, or you can also use the chat room or just send me an email. You can do at, go back to the website, EZFX signal, gmail.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the EZFX Trading Room. If there are any updates to our current signal trades, I will be sending you emails. And thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.